Welcome. My name is Catherine, and I love music. And this video is part 2 of 1985 albums. I will leave a link in the description to part 1 if you haven't seen this video already. And the first album I'm going to show you today is John Mellencamp's Scarecrow. And this is one of my favorite John Mellencamp albums. It's his 8th studio album. It was released July 31st of 1985, and it has 3 singles: Small Town, Lonely All Night, and these peaked at number 6 on the Billboard Hot 100. And ROCK in the USA, this song peaked at number 2. My favorite songs are the first one, Rain on the Scarecrow. The words of this song helped me to understand what was happening to family farms in America. The message is sincere because John's ancestors came to America from Europe and they were farmers. And John's grandfather, Spec Mellencamp, was a farmer as well. And Grandpa Spec passed away just after his previous album, and this album is dedicated to Spec Mellencamp. The second song I like is a pretty cute one. It's called Grandma's Theme. It's a 56-second folk song with singing by Grandma Laura Mellencamp. And I think this is a nice transition from the strong message in Scarecrow to the third track, which is called Small Town. And this is a meaningful song about John growing up in Seymour, Indiana, and Small Town was played at my high school graduation. And I also like the song Minutes to Memory. Overall, this is a great album from start to finish. I think this is one of John's masterpieces. The next album I'm going to show you is Mike and the Mechanics' debut album. This is a side project by Genesis bassist and guitarist Mike Rutherford, and he was doing this when Phil Collins was on tour for No Jacket Required. The album was released October 5th, 1985, and it had 3 singles: Silent Running, which was released in 85, and it's sang by vocalist Paul Carrack. The next 2 were released in 1986. We have All I Need Is a Miracle, sung by Paul Young from Manchester, not to be mistaken by the other Paul Young, and a ballad called Taken In. And one of my favorite songs of the 80s is All I Need Is a Miracle. It's just an upbeat song and very happy. I like it so much that I have the 45. And the B-side is called Taken In, which is another ballad on the Mike and Mechanics album. Next album is Sting's Dream of the Blue Turtles. It's his first studio album after the Police broke up, and it contained 5 singles. If You Love Somebody, Set Them Free, Love is the Seventh Wave, Fortress Around Your Heart, Russians, and Moon Over Bourbon Street. This album was released June 1st of 1985, and I like the entire album, but if I were to pick a few favorites, it would be Love is the Seventh Wave, because it's a reggae rhythm song, and I like Moon Over Bourbon Street. Next album, Talking Heads' Little Creatures, released June 10th, 1985. It's their 6th studio album, and I just think the artwork on this cover is great. It's one of my favorites, and it was painted by an artist named Howard Finster, and it was one of their Talking Heads' best-selling albums in the United States. It contains 3 singles: The Lady Don't Mind, and She Was, and Road to Nowhere. And here's the back. I love the Talking Heads. They're so fun. The next album I have on CD, it's Simple Minds' October 21st, 1985 release, Once Upon a Time. Contains the singles Alive and Kicking, that peaked at number 3, All the Things She Said, Sanctify Yourself, and the single Ghost Dancing was released in the UK. My favorite Simple Minds song is Alive and Kicking. I just think it's just a great song. I love the backup vocals by Robin Clark, and that's the Simple Minds album. Sometimes they're called a one-hit wonder, but I don't believe that. They had several charting songs in the 80s, so they're not actually a one-hit wonder at all. Next album, Tears for Fears, Songs from the Big Chair. Very popular album in the 80s. It's their second studio album, and it gave them international success. It was released February 25th of 1985 and contains the singles Mother Talk, Shout, which was the first song released in the US, and it reached number 1. Their breakthrough song, Everybody Wants to Rule the World, also reached number 1 in the US, head over heels. And this album sold 5 million copies in the US, and I think it's a great album. I love it. I played it a lot when I was younger. Next is Till Tuesday, Voices Carry. This is their debut album, released April 20th, 1985. And I love the vocals of Amy Mann. I think she has a nice voice. I also like the photograph on this album cover. Doesn't it just take you back to 1985, seeing the hairdos and the clothes they're wearing? So our singles on this album are Voices Carry, Looking Over My Shoulder, and Love in a Vacuum. And that Voices Carry song reached number 8. The video was played a lot on MTV, and it's very memorable. It touches on abusive relationship. And here's the back of the album. So these are my 13 total LPs from 1985, and I have one single. And this single reached number 2 on the Billboard Hot 100, and it's Prince's Raspberry Beret. I love this song, and I love the video too, with Prince in his cloud suit. And the lyrics, seems that I was busy doing something close to nothing, but different than the day before. Sometimes I feel like that lyric describes me. So what song kept this song from reaching number 1? Well, it was Duran Duran's View to a Kill. Another great song in the 80s. The 80s were pretty competitive. And I'm just going to turn to the picture of the set of the video that was in Paris. This song was a James Bond theme for the movie View to a Kill. And here's the guys in Paris. So this is all the records I have from 1985. I thank you very much for watching, and please share in the comments your favorite albums from 1985. I know there was many more songs out there. So thank you and have a great day.